Matter had a pro, and we in Central Park on a beautiful day, and this is brother Fred Jackson.
How you doing, sir?
Okay. I'm great. Yes, Carmel, Pharrel, and I, we in great spirits here, and we thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We are here, and we like to thank you for all that you do. You have been, for a long time, we've known each other. You are promotion director, formerly at Electra Entertainment.
Yep, I was at Electra for several years. Great opportunity there. I mean, it's been amazing to be a part, to have my part of the entertainment and media industry in my way, you know, and to do what I've been able to do, and I feel like I have my own accomplishments, you know. So I'm grateful and blessed to have the times I've had to work with people like yourself and come across those paths to be able to do great stuff. So it's been an interesting ride.
Yes, indeed. And then for a while you was promotion director at Essence. How did you utilize your experience from the East West Electra days and those great music, not only hip hop but the Anita Bacons, of, you know, and brought that to Essence magazine, doing promotional marketing? How did that propel you to deal with journalism from a formerly black-owned magazine to a magazine that now that everybody wants to help out and have a play, as far as the Essence Music Festival, where you have the world stage of all the different great artists, the neo souls, the jazz, you know, the classic hip hop, and
even new hip hop,
and the days, and now with trap music and other forms of it being a part of the festival. Tell us your great experiences and how you was able to deal with marketing and partnerships at Essence.
Yeah, you know, it was a few steps, you know. So from Electra, real quickly, it became a time of then doing nonprofit. So I went to Lifebeat, you know, got a chance to be a part of the music industry's fight against AIDS, you know, at a very critical time, and I got a chance to be there for a couple of years. So, you know, that was So the quick of it is, I noticed, and I tried to, for lack of a better word, leverage my learnings and my experiences with everywhere I went. So when I went from Essence, when I went from Electra to Lifebeat, it was a conversation of, okay, I have partnerships, you know, I have connections with the different labels. Let's utilize that, but also the sense of understanding the corporate language. You know, so I got a chance to do some corporate partnerships when I was at Electra. So I was like, okay, I understand how I've got to make that work here at Lifebeat, and what I'll learn is the language that I need to use in order to do that in a nonprofit environment, in a nonprofit community. So got that chance to do there. Great 2 years, got to do work, Urban Aid for Lifebeat, which was probably one of the most influential opportunities to message HIV/AIDS challenge and epidemic to an urban audience. Got to do that. 2 years in, realized it was time to move on. Another great opportunity came along to work at Vibe, you know, which was just this iconic figure at the time.
Especially when Quincy Jones
finding it. Right, exactly. And you know, everybody knows, everybody has their favorite covers and their favorite stories, and from there, it was just such a big entity. And I was like, okay, so this puts me in publishing. So I remember having my story there, my journey there was, I think I first interviewed with the marketing director probably in the summer, June or July. We had conversation after conversation. Her challenge being, you don't have publishing experience. You haven't worked at a magazine, you know, and we talked it out. I shared the elements that I brought to the table about how I understand working with no budget and building something from there. I understand working with no time, because very often, at the label, A&R would come down and be like, just got out of the studio with this artist, it's so hot, we have to release it now. You're building a marketing plan, in weeks, So I kept honing that in. I did, as many people know out there, you have to do your projects, and you're showing proposals, and you're showing your writing skills and your presentation skills. Interviewed in June, and it took 5 months to actually, 4 months to actually be hired, and it starts in October. So, but I got there, and what I didn't know, I learned, and I knew I brought some elements to the table, and, the partnerships that I brought to the table, understanding a bit of how labor works, which was kind of the core of what we did. We said to corporations, we can be that partner for you in order to work with different labels and different entertainment arms to make sure you're a part of a project that has a great voice, that your voice can be within that and speak to properly, and you can be a part of this culture, through our voice. So to be there and to do that for so long became another, platform for me when it came to Essence. It's when I started there, it was a goal of, all right, well, we need someone to work promotionally for the magazine, probably 50% of the time. So you've got 12 issues coming out a year, a growing digital platform. So what promotions you can build there half the time, but then the other half was working on festival. So again, you've got this at the time, this property and this platform that became iconic status in its own right, still is. How do we continue to message what it is? You've in an environment that was growing all the time. Like now, you look at it, you think back then, we thought about different cruises and different people were having destination trips that were happening. You had a few here and there. Now, if you look at the landscape, any talent with a following is developing, and not to belittle it, but like many talents with the following are creating their own live events, their live experiences, whether locally or whether they've got people traveling, across the water. So we had to continue to remind everyone of the relevance of, the Essence Festival and experiences and involving it. How can you make sure that for the next generation of young people, for the next generation of adults, for the next generation of African American women, they felt like, I don't want to. This is something that's for me, and it's not just my mother's festival. It's my festival, or it's something whereby me and my mom can go, and we all have a great time. The whole family can go have a great time. So that was work, and that was a team effort, definitely from senior leadership to other directors and managers to even interns. I mean, everyone sort of helped play in the story, but the core of it was that audience. Like always keeping them in mind. What are they thinking? What do they need? And sort of anticipating those needs. Giving them stuff that you think that they want. And showing them what they want.
But what was the difference when you came and then eventually other people left, iconic figures like the Susan Taylors and others that left, because Essence magazine was made for African American women and African women in general. They had a core mission in the 70s. And there were women that felt like, okay, it's great with the festival now, but they also, with the advertising, how many of the women here, our women and women in general, can still see not just the cultural legacy, but the integrity of the magazine, and how was you able to work, still have fun, and then eventually move on, with groundbreaking stories, especially on Malcolm X and hair and texture and kinky and weaves. How was you able to navigate through the marketing, but people say, well, our favorite people left, or this one left, and yet the festival has grown in New Orleans, especially after Hurricane Katrina.
Well, I think the core of it is, Susan Taylor, those of her legacy will always have this coreness. They'll always be a part of the fabric of a brand like Essence. But I think what's happened is what's been smart and what's everybody understood is that like there were new writers, new voices, who you can bring into the fold, who can speak to what women need to hear now. And they continue to bring that. They continue to evaluate the environment. They continue to see what's happening in Black women's lives, and bringing them that. Bringing them their stories, bringing them the help they need, the encouragement they need, the inspiration that they need, whether it is fashion or lifestyle or culture or community or hair. They speak through to their voice. They speak to them as they need to, and I think that's what keeps that brand so relevant. And like I said, it's really taking a look at anything that they do, whether it's the Essence Festival or a street style event. How are they doing something that, with Black Women in Hollywood, all those programs, how are you doing this that you continue to evolve it, to make it relevant, to profile the people who need to be profiled, or include the people who the community says, I follow them, I trust them, I authenticate them, and bringing them into the mix of it. Is with any brand, and I'm sure any CEO and executive and chairman and all this is going to say that it's got to be bigger than a person. Any brand has to be bigger than a person. It's like, so when somebody walks away, Steve Jobs passes away, what did Apple fold?
No,
did they close the offices? No. Like, they had to say, okay, he set the benchmark, he put the skeleton in, his DNA is here. We'll continue to, evolve his mission of it, but now we've got someone else, and we've got to continue to evolve the brand. I think that, every brand has to do that, or were you really a brand, or were you just like an extension of this person, So I applaud them for that. I think everyone respects them for what they've done, and I think I respect them as well for surviving through evolution. Right. Yes, it was always great for it to be considered a Black-owned brand, but now it's not. Okay. Yeah. But does that mean it can't still speak to African American women? Not at all. It means now there's resources behind it, so it can do more, so it can, spread its wings. It's like, the Essence is going to Durban, this fall, like bringing the Essence Festival to Durban. Would it have been able to do that on, as its own? I don't know, but now it has the resources of Time Inc. in order to at least say, okay, what have you done, Time brand and Fortune brand and all these other brands that are international in style, what have you done? How do you communicate? How do you navigate, through those environments so they can take those lessons, evolve it to a message that speaks for the brand, the message that speaks for Essence, and make that work,
So how, you've been doing it. How does someone
as many people
who's like yourself, that I've noticed over the years, that's about what we're about, the human rights struggle for our people and all human beings. How is you able to go from there and to actually move on to a great brand that's growing with the Black Lives Matters coming from Essence to TV One?
Well, I think that, hopefully everyone realizes, especially in an urban space or any space where there's an audience in a community that needs their voice amplified, that you have to realize there's another layer besides the commodity of it, so yes, it's great to have the corporate advertisers and them making their financial commitments to the brand, right. But you're like, okay, we all know that there's too much happening in our environment and in our culture not to ignore. So how can you bring that in safely? Because to some brands it's going to be too much. You can't necessarily say, okay, we're going to have this protest and we're going to make you a sponsor. That's probably not going to happen. You're not going to get corporations to be able to feel that comfortable in order to be in that environment. But what can you do? What voice can you bring? What imagery can you show that reinforces all the messages that you see our community needs. You know, how do you amplify their voice? You know, how do you sort of say
without
you matter
without shutting down the light?
because you can't, like, it's just, yes. I mean, I don't, you know, like, there is a responsibility that we have, whether you're black owned or black operated or black facing. You know, there's a responsibility that you have, and everyone at every level, you know, EVP, VP, director, senior manager, we all can kind of do our part to say, okay, here's where I think it can come in, you know, safely, positively, encouragingly, inspiringly, yes, you know, and make this work and help share that message and encourage folks to believe on and continue on and to grow on. But you have to, you have to find it. It's an art meets science type situation. You know, like, you know, there, and you'll have I think we all find ourselves having this team of the rebels, the compliant people, the ones who say that no, we can't. And I think that environment in an office represents what's happening in the real world. So therefore, if you can all come together and say, okay, here's an idea that works for the rebel, that works for the one who's compliant, that works for the one who says we can't do this, and everybody feels comfortable, and here's the message, and here's what we're going to show and bring to our marketing partners and say, let's do this because it's what needs to be done, but in a way that's safe and that doesn't just distract them, it doesn't have them running for the hills.
And you were able to actually, how are you able to still, like, all these years have fun? You know, like because that's the main thing. Yeah. Like, I notice with every time I have seen you and going on with TV, how are you able to have fun, especially now with the great groundbreaking series of The Unsung, which tells the stories of all our artists from every genre, whether it's rhythm, blues, jazz, hip hop, R&B, whether it's the TV series with New York Undercover, Malik Yoba, and so many groundbreaking Force MDs, I'll be sure, you name it. How have you been able to have fun where you at? And the music and culture in general, being around the world, that continue. African music influences every music, and all music, which is universal, has its links toward culture, race, and upliftment.
Well, I think that you can have fun with it because you can share in the excitement that we continue to be a voice for black culture, that we continue to be a starting point for black culture. You know, it's so you can have fun because you're enjoying that we're bringing something to light that many others say, oh, I don't even know what that is, but you know. Like, you know, when you're watching that show, when you're sending your little tweets, or when you're at the, you know, we recently had the premiere for Love Under Management.
Mickey Howard, the great Mickey Howard.
The great Mickey Howard. You're having fun because you're just sitting there, and you know what you're about to see on the screen by these incredible producers and by our incredible programming team verifies yet again, like, there's relevance. Like, that's right. You know, like someone is saying, you know, like we could probably go around this whole park and say, do you know Mickey Howard, da da da, and probably, you know, it might be a little slim. You know, we're in a very multicultural environment, right? A lot of people are like, nah, I don't know who that is. But you're gonna find the one person who does, and they're gonna say, oh my God, that was my song. Oh my God, her story is my story. Oh my God, like, she means the world to me. Her journey, I'm inspired by her journey. And when all that happens, when you meet that one person who does that, all that hours you spent working on it, all the effort you made to promote the film and to encourage partnerships around the film, all that's just like kind of like summed up.
Yeah,
right in that one
and we're all in love under new management.
Yes, we are.
And
yes,
thank God for all the artists, no matter what you look like, male or female, from every genre, especially African American music, and how TV One is doing a great job. You know, we're about to wrap this up. We thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Fred.
Good to see you again.
You know, it's a pleasure. Quickly, name 2 of your favorite records.
You're making this. All right.
Which is, and what are you doing to also give back to our youth and our culture when you're not working?
Gosh, 2 records. This, I don't even know if I can do this. This is very, very difficult. You know, like I gotta say that, you know, you mentioned Anita Baker, and she's just someone who will continue to be.
Yes.
If she never does another record again, it's okay, because you know what she's done musically is like, you know, just been amazing to me. And I remember first hearing, I guess, the song Angel.
Angel, yes.
Hearing that, and I was just like,
1983.
There you go. And it was like, who is this? What is this? And then, you know,
and the remake that Layla
done, who's
which
another
is great.
incredible talent. And then, you know, then I got Nina Simone, you know, who who I remember like first hearing her. I think my oddity of it is like first hearing her like in a film. I can't remember the film that I saw, and I was just like, what is his voice? And just diving in and never diving back out. So, you know, I might not be able to give you songs, but I can say that those two artists, because their catalog is just too much for me to pick. And then for me, I think every day I try to find the time. You know, like, you know, my the church environment that we have uptown, which is amazing. First Corinthian Baptist Church, FCBC, shouting them out. You know, has done so much. Like if you feel like I don't have the time, I can't find it, I don't even know what I want to do, you go on the website, you go on a Sunday, and all of a sudden you found 6-7 volunteer opportunities, you know, and not feeling this overwhelmed feeling. You know, a few weeks ago we set out to talk about voting. You know, like, you know, we connected with the ACT ministry, did a call out. They were like, anybody who can and will come out on a Saturday, and it was right before the Democratic primaries, or the primaries overall. And, you know, like, we just kind of gathered up, we split up, and we went out in the community and said, just encouraging people to register. We didn't say Democrat, we didn't say Republican, just encouraging them to register. And I remember having a couple of conversations with some young black men who just didn't even understand what it meant, you know, like, and didn't feel like they were part of the process, didn't feel like it was for them, didn't feel like they mattered, you know. So that's when you had to find this wherewithal in yourself to be like, all right, it's not about being angry right now, it's not about harassing them into this, it's about meeting them where they are and trying to understand why they feel like, you know, this doesn't matter, and try to give them the message that they need so they understand why it should matter to them. And, you know, it's like, you know, there was one guy, the quick story is there's one guy who, you know, we're walking the streets, I was right there on Lenox and 125th, this guy walks past, and, you know, my spirit was just like, hey brother, have you registered to vote? He hit me off with the, I'm on parole, I've been arrested for trespass. And we were just like, doesn't matter, you can still register to vote. But he hastily walks away. So we're like, you don't fight it, cool, keep walking. And then, like, you hear 2 minutes later, he's like, yeah, I want to register. You know, it's just like, I think out of all of them, that was the one that really stood out for me. Because all it took was just taking some forms and walking the streets that we live in and eat in and drink in and hang out in every day, just walking the streets and just being a part of the community. That's all it takes, in whatever way.
Encouragement and upliftment for African American, African people, and all human beings.
All human beings.
It's such a pleasure.
Same here.
Fred Jackson, human rights executive extraordinaire.
Right there to the camera.
Mada Hatter Pro. We like to thank all our listeners and our director, Carmel Pharrel, Fred Jackson, your host and interviewer journalist, Brother R.J. Arnold. And we love y'all.
Love y'all.
And enjoy your summer. We hope you learned something.
Exactly. Same here. Take it easy, folks.
Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you.
I could be here all day.